This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Bruchim Abayim. Welcome everyone. Shalom Aleichem. We're continuing the Orchos Chaim of the Rosh. We're up to Ois Nun Zayin. Al Yiu Panecha Ze'umais Neged Oivrim B'Shavim. Your face should not be angry in the presence of wayfarers, passerbyers. V'kabel oisam b'panim me'irim. You should receive them, accept them with an illuminative face. Now, what is this talking about? We know that the Mishnah says in Perkei Avos, "Have a makabos kol adam b'sever panim yafos." It's interesting. What does it mean? Have a makabos kol adam b'sever panim yafos. So I once heard from Rabbi Victor Miller, why these three expressions? Sever, panim, yafos. The first thing is, you're walking down the street, you see someone. Some people, they like cover their head, they can't even look at you, they don't even want to look at you. No. First thing is you have to show them your face. Next thing, okay, you're going to show them your face, but I'm going to show them a grouchy face. No. You show them a pleasant face. You show them svara. Sever is a lesson of svara. Show some emotion. In other words, don't just be blank-faced. Show them some svara. And then yafos, it should be pleasant. Now, the Meiri in Perkei Avos also has a very interesting take on sever panim yafos. It doesn't just say sever panim. It doesn't just say panim yafos. So say a beautiful face, a nice face. Sever doesn't really add anything. Once we have yafos, sever doesn't really add anything. But the thing is, sometimes a person's not in the mood of a guest. And the visit is a bother. But the guy came, so what are you going to do? So you don't want to hurt the person's feelings. So sever panim yafos, at least let him think it's a real panim yafos. Sever, let him be savar. He's savar that you're putting on a real panim yafos. That's what it means, the sever panim yafos. Really, you want the guy to get lost, fly a kite, and jump in a lake. All three at the same time. The only thing is, what are you going to do? You're going to tell him to go fly a kite? He doesn't have any kites on him. So you make him think that you're happy to see him. That's sever panim yafos. So, but the Rosh seems to be learning that the mitzvah of Mekabos called them sever panim yafos is specifically referring to Hachnasas Orchim, points out Rabbi Tzalel Zolti. Because the Rosh says, Al Yiu Panecha Ze'umais Neged Oivrim V'Shavim. And if you look in the Bar Tenura on Perkei Avos, he says on the Mishnah of Mekabos called Adam Sever Panim Yafos, he says when you host a guest, don't give them a grouchy face, because you could give your friend who comes to your house a steak dinner, but it's like you gave him nothing. And this is a continuation of what it says earlier in the Mishnah. Emar ma'at va'asei harbe, according to the Bar Tenura, is referring to Emar ma'at va'asei harbe is referring to the way you treat a guest. Now, in the Sefer Maseh HaChazoinish, Rav Goldberg quotes, he brings something very heart-wrenching. Chazoinish had a very difficult life. People are not fully aware of the personal suffering that the Chazoinish endured. Family, etc. The Chazoinish writes, now whenever he would greet someone, when people would visit him, he seemed like the happiest guy on earth, the happiest person on earth. It looked like he wasn't missing anything. He's mekabel everyone, whether he knew them, he didn't know them, with great chavivos, as if they were best friends. However, the Chazoinish writes in a letter that he was broken and crushed his whole life. He never merited any enjoyment at all in this world, compounded with that acute pain in his entire body throughout his life. And here's a man who is what he calls himself, refers to himself as Shavor Veratzutz, and he seemed like Adam Hamaushar B'Yoisar B'tevel. Now, an interesting question that Rabbi Cheskel Sarna raises is, the Mishnah says, Mekavas Kodam B'sever Panim Yafais. The Rosh says a lashon of Me'irais. Okay, that's an interesting question discussed by the Mefarshim. Rav Goldberg cites the story that Rav Itzla Petterberg brings in the Sefer Nesiva Isar, that the Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, when in his youth, when he was in the pinnacle of his attachment to Limud HaMusar, he says, well, he remembers one time in Erev Yom Kippur, he was going to the Beis HaMedrash to daven Maariv, and one of the big Yereim was walking toward him, and you could tell this person was just in complete trembling. He was Hineni He'ani Mimas Nirash V'nivchad, and he had tears on his face, and the Rabbi Yisrael Salanter asked him for something that Rabbi Yisrael needed, and the guy basically ignored him. He was so absorbed in his own thoughts that he ignored him. And Rabbi Yisrael writes that he thought the following: what did I do wrong that this person has to be such a big Yarei Shamayim? He wants to be a Yarei Shamayim, let him be a Yarei Shamayim, but why do I have to suffer because of it? So in other words, the point being is that with all the chesed and with all the midas chasidus that people may be involved in and all the holy practices, but nobody else should have to suffer because of it, one has to make sure that it does not come at the expense of not greeting other people properly. And then Rav Goldberg quotes Rabbi Yerucham Olshen, who cites Rabbi Yitzchak Shiner, that Rabbi Yisrael Salanter gave a regular vad to his Talmidim, teaching them the proper way to smile at people. And this was a regular weekly vad that Rabbi Yisrael gave, the technique of how to be makabel, Kol Adam B'Sever Panim Yafais, and the proper way to wish somebody a good morning, to make them feel good. And this apparently was a recurring subject in the vadim of Rabbi Yisrael. I once heard from a student of Rav David Leibowitz, his name was Rav Gwurtz, who was an administrator in the Telz Yeshiva, that the story goes that somebody once walked in, Rabbi Yisrael was looking in the mirror, and he was like making all kinds of faces at himself in the mirror, and the Talmud couldn't help himself. He said, Rabbi, what in the world are you doing? He's practicing the best way to smile to that will engender the most simcha in the other person. He was, practicing how to be mekabel kol adam b'sever panim yafais. Okay, Rabbi Isai, we'll hold it over here. Actually, I'll tell you one more story. Don't go anywhere. In the Sefer Barchi Nafshi, they bring from Chaim Knievsky that his uncle, Reb Meir Karelitz, said over a story that's in the family about the Baal Pischei Tshuva. This Baal Pischei Tshuva, the Pischei Tshuva on Shulchan Aruch is one of the most authoritative perushim on Dalet Chalkei Shulchan Aruch, and he was the Rav in the city of Utian, and when he passed away, he wanted his son to be Mamala Makayim. The people in the city did not want his son to be Mamala Makayim, and they agreed that they didn't think the kid was a big enough Talmid Chacham, so they agreed that the kid will take a farher from Rabbi Yitzchak Elchanan. If he passed the farher, then he could be the Rav. So the kid goes to Rabbi Yitzchak Elchanan, and in the end of the day, he did not do well on the test. That night, Rabbi Yitzchak Elchanan went to sleep, and the Pischei Tshuva came to him in a dream, and he said, "Listen, if you give my son another chance and you smile at him, and you give him a nice face, I think he's going to pass it the second time." So, sure enough, in the morning, Rabbi Elchanan gives him another farher, and he passed with flying colors. From here, we learn that by smiling at someone, by giving them a pleasant face, it opens up their mind, it sharpens the cerebral passageways, and it gives a downtrodden person the kayach and the ability to continue and to excel. Okay, Rabbi Say, have a great day.
I'm off to the mirror now.
Okay, great. Okay, have a good day. Bye-bye.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.